Ben, it's been, I guess, 9, 10 days since the last time you guys were on the floor. Obviously, a big win over Arkansas. Just how do you feel like you guys have been able to kind of maintain the positive vibes and positive momentum that you guys had 9 or 10 days ago? You feel pretty good about where the confidence level is right now?
Yeah, we played the 29th, and we were obviously supposed to play this past Wednesday, and it was canceled because of COVID. And the way things are looking, it looks like that won't be the last time that happens to a team in our league. So you just got to roll the punches and deal with it. Ole Miss had the same thing happen to them on the 29th, where they were supposed to play Florida home. So their first game was at Tennessee the other night. It's not good for your rhythm. I'd rather be able to play everybody, not worry about anybody getting COVID, and be able to play. But it is what it is. We just deal with it.
Paul Jones, go ahead.
Coach, of course, playing Ole Miss means that I'm sure you'll get tired of hearing it. You guys will see the 1-3-1 zone with them. But, kind of along those lines, though, it's clear that you have a better group of ball handlers this year. How much does that help when it comes to working your way around that 1-3-1?
Well, yeah, the ability to pass and to, understand where we were trying to get the ball moving to is important. But we do have a good, better passing team than we did a year ago.
John, go ahead, Paul. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
Just one last question. How is your team as far as from a health standpoint?
About as good as we can be expected.
John Sokoloff, go ahead and jump in for a couple.
What's up, Ben? You guys are playing some really good basketball. You won 4 in a row. You started off conference play on a nice note. You kind of touched on it there about the whole COVID deal, but how kind of frustrating was it for you guys to obviously not be able to play on Wednesday, considering how well you've played the last 4 games, and how eager are you guys to just be able to get back out there and play basketball again on Saturday night?
Yeah, I'm grateful we're playing at all, to be honest with you. I mean, they ended our season 2 years ago as we knew less about this disease. And so I'm grateful that we're playing. I'm grateful that I'm seeing out around the country, thank goodness Omicron, although it's incredibly contagious and most of us are going to get it, even being protected by vaccines and even boosters. We're not going to get it as bad, and obviously there's less hospitalizations, there's less, severe consequences from this disease. But it's hard. It's just difficult, and everybody's got to deal with it. We're all in the same boat together, and we've all got to support each other and do our best. I mean, I saw 2 nights ago I watched Texas Tech almost beat Iowa State on the road with 7 players. I mean, our women's team won last night at Alabama with 7 players. That's amazing. So it is what it is. We got to deal with it and roll with it.
Yeah, and Ole Miss the other night too at Tennessee. I believe they had 9 guys available and some walk-on other player that they just had to bring just in case. It definitely is wild. But based on what you just said with Paul, you're expecting to have everyone available tomorrow as of right now?
I mean, as of right now, we're hoping to have everybody available. I mean, we still have to practice.
Thanks.
We'll go to Theo next. Theo, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. In the last 4 seasons, you guys have been in the top 20 in offensive rebounding after kind of improving over your first few years here. How much of an emphasis do you put on that when you're building your rosters, and especially when you're coaching your players to take the court?
Yeah, we emphasize rebounding. I mean, rebounding is a big factor in winning or losing. There's a lot of factors involved, but rebounding is definitely one of them, something that I've always stressed as a coach. And we've done a good job of it in terms of, especially at the defensive end of the floor. Our rebound percentage numbers are big too. So we're getting a high percentage of our defensive rebounds and pretty high up on the offensive end as well.
Andy, go ahead. Then Stephon.
Hey, Ben, when you go into a game when you don't really know if Jarko Joyner is going to play for Ole Miss, how do you kind of game plan for that? Like, how do you, I guess, have like 2 game plans for like, hey, if he's playing, if he's not? Like, how do you kind of?
Bottom line is we're planning that he's going to play. I mean, that's my expectation until I hear otherwise. He's not there for the game. mean, I thought that they played great when you consider at Tennessee tonight, when you consider that he didn't play and he's their best player and leading scorer. And we wish him well. We don't want to see anybody out from injury from anywhere in our league or, playing basketball, period. I mean, all these kids put so much time in, and, you hate that for a kid. A back injury is especially tough because, it's something that can be nagging.
You talked about with the COVID stuff. I mean, is there any concern playing with like these full stadiums, just with how contagious Omicron can be? I mean, I know we played last year with no one in the stands. I mean, just how do you kind of feel about playing with packed crowds at the Hump and stuff like that?
I mean, I hope we get packed crowds at the Hump. That'll be a good problem. But yeah, it's I'm no doctor, I'm no expert, but I'm sure that our people are doing what they can to keep the air moving so it's not stagnant. And I'm sure that's an important factor in all this for all the different buildings that we're playing in. You see the NBA doing it too. So, and some places may require that you wear masks. That's a state mandated thing. I think, I know, for example, I'm hearing that the first 2 weeks of school, when we start back up here, they're going to require students to wear masks potentially back in the classroom for the first few weeks. And we're supposed to have a peak in this Omicron, epidemic that we're going through right now sometime in February. So, this can be, I'm just amazed by the numbers every day. I looked today, it was, 758,000 reported yesterday throughout the country, which means it's probably double that at least. So it's like wildfire. And, we all have to deal with it, everybody.
Stefan, go ahead and jump in there for a couple.
You mentioned after the Arkansas game that Keyshawn had the positive case. Did you have any others come up in the days following that?
Keyshawn, I got in trouble for mentioning that because it's a HIPAA infringement. So I really can't say that at this point because of HIPAA.
Go ahead.
I can't say anything because of HIPAA.
Right. And to follow up on what John had mentioned there about Ole Miss, what did you kind of see from them in the film in that Tennessee game? And I know they were able to force a good team there into overtime despite being pretty shorthanded.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tennessee was very fortunate to get the win against Ole Miss. I thought Ole Miss played great. And when I watched that game, I was especially impressed with how they shot the ball. They were 11 for 22 from three. Fagan was great. He was 5 for 6 from three. Morrell, they made 4 out of 6. So they guys were like 9 for 12 between the two of them. In fact, I have it right here. Let's see if that's correct. I want to make sure I'm giving you correct numbers. Yeah, 5 for 6 and 4 for 6. That's correct. So, they shot it great. I thought they did a really good job of playing defense. Tennessee had 19 turnovers, and Tennessee only shot 39% from the field, including 10 for 34 from three. So they played very well enough to win on the road against a top 10 net team in Tennessee.
Back to Joel.
Ben, when you guys played against Arkansas, I don't know if it was the first time all year, but it was one of the first times all year. I think fully healthy. Rocket played, Tolu played. I guess just where do you kind of feel this? Kind of almost felt like maybe a turning point of the season a little bit, in that you guys are getting back to full strength. But where do you kind of feel like this team is right now? What do you kind of like about it? And did you kind of feel like it was maybe a turning point to have everybody back?
Well, it was really nice to have Tolu back because he had missed, obviously, a number of games leading up to that, and I thought he played really well. He had 18 points and 6 rebounds, 5 steals, which was a career high. I thought the thing I was most excited about with Tolu's game was how well he played defensively. Because, again, we're asking him to play a position that he hardly played last year, which is the center position, where you're involved in every ball screen almost that happens, because typically the other team is using their 5-man as a screener, because most teams don't switch 5s onto 1s and 2s. So I was really pleased with that. And I thought Rocket did a good job. Rocket played well. He had 7 points, had a couple big shots for us when the game was tight, especially in the second half. That really helped us. And so I was pleased for him, because he's gone through a lot dealing with this whole, labral tear of his hip and trying to come back from that. And So I'm hopeful that he can continue to build on that.
We'll go to John to wrap it up. John, go ahead.
Hey Ben, just talk about the rivalry a little bit. I know we've talked to you about it before, but you guys have a lot of new faces, on this team in this rotation this year. Is it just kind of another game for you and your guys, or is it much more? Does the game mean more because of the in-state rivalry? And how would you assess kind of the rivalry since you've been here?
Man, I think the rivalry makes it a much bigger game for both squads, and both, fan bases would tell you that, and everybody who involved in our program would tell you that, and at the end of the day, I mean, we have the oldest rivalry of any two teams in the SEC in men's basketball, and we share the same state, and I have great respect for Kermit and his ability to coach and their program, and we're going to have to play our very best to have success against them.